Gotta have my shit together, man. Hold on. I got to run that back because I know y'all didn't hear it. When I picture real hoeing going on, I see your beautiful ass. Don't fight it with my desire, I see beautiful cash. Most of these bitches is beautiful trash. Such a disgrace, pretty face, but like brand new shoes, never been laced. They trying to run the race, but tripping over they shoestrings with bruised knees and got the audacity to refuse beans. But you know it's only so far that you could go. Minus vitamin P, it's only so hard that you could hold. Come on. Now back to this life, take your position in this mission and get active and right. It's time to master strikes. Like that bag with the pipe. Don't try to play in and they hating because they trash your sight. They look sad, that's right. You imagine making magic with hope and open your eyes. It isn't in your face for showing there's no disguise. Come on, baby, you know your blessing is me. Now get with it, P and B, who you was destined to be. Bitch. You know that I'm fire, I know that you fire, we know that we fire, tripping. Baby, let's fuck you know that I'm fire, I know that you fire, we know that we fire, so baby, let's fuck you know that I'm fire. I see y'all tuning in. What's up with y'all? OG Ken, what's up with it? Mr. Atkins, the third one. I see you. Coco, what's up with it? Wayne Wonder, what's the deal? Penelope, I see you. King Negus, what's up with it? Dr. Watson, Goodfella Rich, I see y'all. Take the finest and make the king. I'm high caliber, bitch. My style is the shit. Bitch, be proud of this shit. And living on a level that the lesser never sees. Now go and get some cheddar from a tea. Return to sender and decorate my dresser with the cheese. You know that I'm fire, I know that you fire, we know that we fire, so baby, let's fuck it. You know that I'm fire, I know that you fire, we know that we fire. You say, what's the temperature over here, Wayne Wonder? Let me see. It is currently 72 degrees in Arizona, where I am. Shining so hard that we blinding them haters. Keep on talking with your talking ass, nigga. All up in my stories talking with your stalking ass, nigga. Grinding so hard that we only get greater. Shining so hard that we blinding them haters. Keep on talking with your talking ass, bitch. All up in my stories talking with your stalking. Damn, 47 in Houston? Shit. That's crazy. I don't know nothing about that. Well, it might be that chilly tonight, but right now it's perfect weather. 3 degrees. Fuck that. Godric, I feel sorry for you, man. Around this time last year, I was in Chicago, so I know about it. Minister Slow Stroker says it's 1 degree where he at. All right, y'all. You know what? First of all, I'm gonna lose these headphones. Y'all can hear me cool, right? I don't really need to hear anything, so I don't need to hear myself. And that's what the headphones would be for, to hear myself. But my setup is kind of janky as far as my headphones go, and I can't really hear too well because it goes in and out. So I ain't gonna deal with that right now. Now, I'm trying to remember. Let me see how I did that the last time. Okay, bam. All right, we in the game, man. What's up with y'all? How y'all feeling? Victor Cruz said a hoe got to walk between snowflakes out that bitch, huh? All right, man, we gonna get into it, dig. Get this right. Okay, First and foremost, y'all already know, man, how we get down over here with Freeze's It. You dig? Got to put some love in your body, man. This love juice, man. As y'all can see, I'm more than halfway done. Probably a good 2/3 done with my bottle of love juice today. So I'm gonna have to go refill real soon. As y'all can see, I got my gym clothes on. So after this is over with, I'll be going to the gym. And probably by that time, it'll be time for me to refill my love juice. I'm gonna be working on arms and shoulders today. You dig? So yeah, it's gonna be a good workout. But we're gonna chop this good game before I hit this gym, you dig? But I wanted to talk with y'all about rules, man. Now, January is pretty much over with, damn near, right? But we still got a good 11 months in 2019. So if your rules are not in order or your rules are not set according to your desires or according to your goals or what have you, after this video, you might be enlightened in such a way that you can adjust your rules. Excuse me. You can adjust your rules according to your desires and your goals, aspirations, and so forth, so that you can have an excellent 2019. It's a few things you got to understand about rules, right? First of all, you're going to be subject to some kind of rules, whether you like it or not, because you live in a world with other people and you got to interact with other people to some degree. You're going to be subject to rules. Now, you have different kinds of rules that you could be subject to. Rules of nature, you got to be subject to that. You dig? Like nature says, or gravity says what goes up must come down. So you got to be subject to that type of shit. You dig? You got to be subject to a world where the sun goes up at a certain time, goes down at a certain time. You know, things like that. The weather, you can't control that, so you got to be subject to the rules of that. But so you got natural rules that you got to be subject to, right? Depending on where you live, there's different kinds of laws of the land that are set in place by whatever type of government you have wherever you live, right? Like for instance, myself, I live in the United States. I'm a felon. You dig? So the laws of the government state that felons can't carry firearms or can't even possess firearms. So that's a law, that's a rule that I'm subject to based on where I live. You dig? So that's just one example of something like that as far as government rules. So you got natural rules, you got rules as far as the laws of the land or what have you. Now, the most important rules that you should have are rules pertaining to yourself, your personal rules. You dig? And depending on the degree in which you're in tune with your personal rules or conscious or aware of your personal rules, it's going to have a big impact on how you live your life. You dig? Now, when you set these personal rules for yourself, you got to understand your life. You got to understand your walk of life. You got to understand the things that affect your walk of life. You dig? If you're an athlete, you got to understand the system of being an athlete, the system in which you operate, whatever sport it is that you're in, right? You gotta abide within that system, and you're subject to the rules within that system. But at the same time, if you want to be an overachiever, you're gonna have certain rules for yourself, and that's why you have different degrees of athletes. Of course, natural ability, natural athleticism has something to do with it, but at the same time, work ethic plays a major role in it. So when it comes to being an athlete, uh, your work ethic is going to depend on the rules that you have set for yourself. You dig? Like Kobe Bryant. You know what I mean? When he was in the NBA, the rules that he had set for himself were far more intense than the average athlete in the NBA. There were other athletes in the NBA who were more athletically adept than Kobe Bryant, but Kobe was still the greatest during his time in the league. And a major part of that was because of his work ethic and the rules that he had set for himself. He would practice more times a day than the average athlete. The things that he would do, like his routine, was crazier than the average athlete. So because of his rules, that's what set him where he is as far as, you know, being legendary in basketball. So that's just with athleticism, right? If you're an athlete, like myself, right? Like I said, after this live is over with, I'm gonna go to the gym. So I got certain rules for myself when it comes to the gym, when it comes to my fitness, period, right? Just to give you an idea, when I first decided that I was gonna make fitness my lifestyle, which was Father's Day 2012, right? So it's been about 7 years almost. This year in June, it'll be 7 years since I've been taking fitness serious in my life, right? So when I first decided that I was going to be serious about fitness, I didn't really exactly have my rules in place. You know, I knew that I wanted to work out. I knew that I wanted to feel better and look better, but my rules weren't as in place as they are now. And as a result of that, not only do I look better, but I'm stronger. I'm just better in a whole lot of different ways because of my rules when it comes to working out, just working out in the gym. You dig? There will be times where I go and I'll be like, okay, I'm gonna work this muscle today. Today I'm gonna do chest, so I'm gonna do some bench press, this, that, and the third. Or the next day I might do arms, so I'll do that. You dig? But I didn't have necessarily a routine, and at first, you know, because I was in the penitentiary and I had a routine when I was in the penitentiary. So, but in the pen, I didn't have weights. You dig? So out here on the streets now that I was taking fitness serious, I got weights. So I got more options. So there's more things that I can do. But I kind of still patterned my routine around the routine that I had when I was in prison. So it was real basic because obviously when you're in the pen, shit, that's as basic as it get. You know what I mean? The most you might be able to hook up a water bag. But where I was at, Corcoran, you know what I mean? We had a CO named Moore, a little short motherfucker with a Napoleon complex. He's about 5 feet tall, 5'1" at the most. You dig? But Moore was an asshole, little short white boy. And Moore was the type of motherfucker, if he catch you with a water bag, he gonna put the motherfucker on your bed and bust it so that your bed is just a mess, all fucked up. If you got clothes on your bed, if you got paperwork, letters, pictures, whatever, all that shit is gonna be wet because he gonna put the water bag on your bed and bust that motherfucker. So I was even in the pen, you dig? There's certain rules that you got to abide by, but because of things like that, you know, you got to set certain rules for yourself to make your stay as copacetic as possible. But getting back to my gym routine, right? So I kind of patterned it in the beginning after my prison routine. But you know, just like anything else, when you get into something and it's new to you, you have a high level of interest when you're passionate about it, right? And I started getting more passionate about fitness. So I started learning about different muscle groups and, you know, working out areas that I never even thought about working out before because, you know, I'm just a regular nigga from the hood. And I know niggas in the hood that's on swole, they got big arms and big chests and shit like that. But you know what I mean? As I got more into it, you know, I started thinking about things like, well, you know, most niggas in the hood got bird legs, they got chicken legs, you know what I mean? Or most niggas in the hood don't be thinking about working they shoulders or or doing this workout or that workout or whatever the case may be. So as my interest level increased in fitness, so did my rules. You dig? I developed a more intense routine, a more detailed routine. And so now I got more rules when I go in the gym. Because rules is basically another word for guidelines. You know what I mean? And the more guidelines you have in place for whatever it is that you're trying to do or that you want to do, the better, the greater chance you have at succeeding in whatever it is that you want to do. So I know that if I would have stuck with that same prison routine, my body wouldn't be as developed as it is right now. I wouldn't be as strong in certain areas as I am now, because in the pen, my routine was real basic. I did pull-ups, I did push-ups, I did dips, I did squats. It was hella basic. I didn't really do much shoulder work. So naturally my shoulders ain't the biggest, just genetically as I am already. So that's something that I had to go hard on to even get the shoulders that I do have. You dig? So but the bottom line is when it come to working out, because of the rules that I have set in place, like I have a 3-day routine. I do that twice a week. So I know every day when I go in the gym exactly what I'm going to do before I go in there. But for somebody who doesn't have rules set in place when it comes to that, their chances of failure is going to be very high because they don't have a plan in mind based on the rules that they got for themselves. You dig? They ain't got no guidelines, so they might go in there and fuck around with this, fuck around with that, but they're not going to really focus on anything. And that's what the rules do. When you got rules, it allows you to focus on shit. And it makes you more effective at whatever it is that you do. Like pimping, for instance, right? When it comes to this pimping, if you really think about it, and it's not to shoot shots at anybody, but it's just the truth. Most cats in the game don't have a whole lot of rules when it comes to their pimping. When you think about the type of bitches that these dudes be having, there's not a lot of rules. And see, one thing about the pimp game, right? A lot of people in the game they take cliches that were said by people that was in the game before them and it sound good. So they take it and run with it, right? But as Gorgeous Dre likes to say, you dig? That's problematic. Shout out to my big bro Dre. But yeah, that's problematic when you adopt certain cliches that come before you from cats see, what you got to keep in mind is them cats who come with them cliches originally they from a different time, and the rules of the land, the rules that the government have set in place, they're very different from the rules from the cats in the game from back in the day. Like for instance, right? A lot of cats in the game say, I like who like me. Right? Now, if you operate based on that rule, because that's a rule for some cats. I like who like me. Meaning, if a bitch like me enough and she want to fuck with me, I'm gonna give her a chance to like me. Or I'm gonna give her a chance to fuck with me. You dig? But like I say, that's problematic in today's times because there's so many things, like the deck is stacked against the pimping like it never was before. So you don't know who likes you. Like you don't know who you accepting. If all it takes for a bitch to fuck with you is that she likes you, all it takes for you to like a bitch is the fact that she is portraying a role that she likes you, then ain't no telling what you accepted into your household as the pimping. Because this bitch who likes you, her history might be a mystery, and you might not really know much about the bitch's history. See, again, like back in the days, that rule, I like who likes me. it wasn't as dangerous of a rule to live by back in the days as it is now. You dig? Because the game was small. It's still small, but it was even smaller back in the day. So everybody kind of knew everybody. It was like 1 degree of separation. If I don't know you, I know somebody to know you. If we don't know each other, we both know some of the same people. That's how it was back in the day for pimps and hoes. It's still kind of like that to a certain extent today, but it's a lot of people in the game who don't know each other. It's a lot of people in the game who don't socialize with other people in the game. It's a lot of people in the game who just kind of like stay to themselves and you know, they don't really know a lot of people in the game. You did. So like I said, operating by a rule like that at today's times is dangerous because if you like who like you might be liking a snitch. You might be liking a bitch that got a disease that she can't get rid of. You might be liking an underage girl who's lying about her age. Uh, you know, and also if you don't have any rules as far as requirements to be with you, you're not gonna check for things like that. You're not gonna be mindful because in the pimp game, you know, if a hoe likes a pimp, she gonna give him some money. And once again, you know, if all it takes is for this bitch to like you, all it takes for her to give you some money, um, most cats in the game, like I said, they don't operate based on a whole lot of rules. So most cats in that situation where a bitch that's a snitch got some thousands for them, they're not gonna stop and say, well, hold up, let me check and see this bitch's background. Or some cats might know that she's a snitch. They might be conscious of that fact, but they see them thousands in their face and they think they know something better that the last cat or the last dudes that she snitched on didn't know. So they just gonna accept that shit. You dig? And that's where, you know, the rule of operating with integrity comes into play. That's gonna keep you safe. Like I said, them guidelines. It's not gonna allow you to veer off one way or the other and go off to the wayside. You dig? So, you know, rules with the pimping are extremely important, especially in today's times, because like I say, in 2019, the stack blah, blah, blah. The deck is stacked against the pimping like it never was before. It ain't never been stacked against you. Now, like I say, the government got rules in place. And if you don't have rules for yourself as the pimping, you, like I said, you're gonna be subject to somebody's rules. If you don't subject yourself to your own rules, then you're gonna be subjected to the rules of the government, the rules of nature. You can't get around that. And if you live in America, the rules of the government, you can't really get around that. But if you have certain rules for yourself, keeping the rules of the government in mind and the rules of nature in mind, then you heighten your chances for success. Because once again, if you don't have rules for yourself, then you're going to be subject to the rules of the government. And if you allow your life to be dictated solely by the rules of the government and not the rules of yourself, that's why we got so many cats in the penitentiary that's supposed to be the pimping right now, or that actually are the pimping right now. You know what I mean? Like you got certain cats like King Bert. Shout out King Bert. I seen a video of King Bert not too long ago where he was saying, you know, back in the days, you couldn't go to jail for pimping, but now you can go to jail for pimping. The reason, and what he means by that is, back in the days, you wouldn't go to jail for pimping, you would go to jail for mispimping. So basically, if you make a mistake in your pimping back in the days, that's what would land you in jail. But if you pimped accordingly, you wouldn't end up in jail 9 times out of 10. It was a very slim chance back in the days that you could pimp accordingly and still end up in jail. You dig? Because the deck wasn't stacked so high against the pimping back in the days. But now that the deck is stacked the way that it is against the pimping, you can go to jail for pimping. You can be pimping accordingly, perfectly fine, and still end up in jail because it don't take nothing for you to end up in jail. Back in the days, not only did it take more for a pimp to end up in jail, but everybody wasn't so against the pimping like how they are now. I mean, the world always been against the pimping, but the difference now, as opposed to back in the days, most of the bitches in the game are against the pimping. Even bitches that say that they like pimping, say that they want some pimping, most of the bitches in the game are just against pimping. When they hear pimping, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. When they hear pimping, they automatically think of something negative. Back in the days, hoes was more into the pimping. Hoes liked the pimping. Hoes fucked with the pimping. So that's why you could pimp accordingly and avoid jail back in the days. But because in today's times there's so many bitches against the pimping and so many bitches is for themselves, you could pimp accordingly and still end your ass up in jail. I know plenty of P's that done been through that. I know some P's right now that's on the yard doing 15, 20, 30 years in life sentences. Cast it out and pimped with. Cast it out and been shoulder to shoulder, elbow to elbow with, campaigning with, eating with. You dig? Leaking with, and having hoes and having money with, everything in between. It's cats that I know that pimped accordingly and are in a joint right now. You dig? And I hate to say it, but fortunately, I've learned some things from those experiences. And what I've learned is if they had certain rules set in place, keeping in mind the rules of the government and the rules of nature, there's a high likelihood that they could have avoided those situations. You dig? But at the same time, it's kind of fucked up because a lot of P's didn't have the opportunity to adjust because the everything changed so quickly. Everything changed so rapidly. You dig? So certain P's had to take the bullet. But it's fucked up if they took the bullet in vain, and those of us that are still active in the game right now don't learn from the bullets that they took. You dig? That's just like, speaking of rules, right? One rule that I have for myself is these feet of mine, they don't touch Orange County. I do not fuck with Orange County at all. You know what I mean? And I love Orange County. I've had a lot of fun and a lot of funds in Orange County. Orange County is one of my favorite places in the world. But, however, although now that they have these rules set in place, these new rules that they didn't have when I was fucking around in Orange County, now that they got these rules set in place, I'm not going to Orange County. You dig? Now that I know that their level of hatred has intensified through the stratosphere when it comes to wanting the pimping to sit in jail forever and ever and ever as long as they can keep the pimping in there. Now that I understand this, my rules have changed. Just like their rules changed, my rules changed, and they ain't got to worry about me no more. Well, they never really had to worry about me, but now they don't have to be worried, concerned. They don't have to think about Freeze at all in Orange County. You know what I mean? If it's Orange County, they can forget about Freeze. Freeze will not be going there. You dig? I might creep in to go to Disneyland one time or something like that, but other than that, and that's a slim chance. You know what I mean? But yeah, like I said, their rules changed, so I changed my rules because I want to survive the game. You know what I mean? I want the hunt is on, and I want to survive. I know that I'm the hunted, so I have to. I gotta adjust my rules accordingly. You dig? So in the pimping, in order to stay free and be cool, your rules have to be set in place according to the laws of the land. And if they not, you taking a very big gamble. You taking a very big gamble in the game and what you're doing. It's like imagine being in war, right? Imagine being in Vietnam, and they got guerrilla warfare going on. Vietnamese coming with guerrilla tactics and whatnot. And imagine being a soldier in this setting and you don't have any rules. All you know is that you want to kill your enemy. You want to kill the Vietnamese, right? But the Vietnamese have rules. You dig? And their rules are intense than a motherfucker. And their rules are very strategic and intelligent. So you, on the other hand, if your only rule is when I see a Vietnamese, I'm gonna shoot a Vietnamese. If that's your only rule, then you're gonna die quick than a motherfucker. Because you might not think to yourself, I need to have my helmet on at all times. You might not think to yourself, I need to have my bulletproof vest on at all times. You might not think to yourself, I got to be aware of my surroundings at all times. You might not think to yourself, I got eyes on me at all times. You dig? See, when you have rules set in place, you're going to keep all that type of shit in mind. If your number one rule is to stay alive, then you're going to keep as much shit, you're going to have as many rules in place as possible to keep yourself alive. And just like with anything else, you got certain soldiers that might not have the same rules, and they might die faster than the one who got the most rules. You dig? So, but whatever the case, in that situation, they subject to the rules of the Vietnamese. That's something that they're going to have to deal with while they're there. Now, the rules that they have for themselves, the more intense their rules are, the more strict their rules are pertaining to their environment, pertaining to the rules of their enemy, the better chance they got for survival. You dig? So, and then with the pimping, just in general, man, the game is supposed to have a lot of rules that it doesn't have right now. You dig? And that's why the value of the hoe, the value of a hoe's time, the value of a hoe's pleasure is constantly going down. It's constantly dwindling because, once again, everybody else got rules. Even tricks got rules. The tricks that a hoe is dealing with, they got rules. But if this hoe is going to the track or going to the casino or posting an ad or whatever she's doing, if this hoe is stepping out there and her only rule is get some money from a trick, she gonna be subject to a lot of shit that's set up for her to fail. See, that's what you got to keep in mind. Shit, really, if you just black in America, period. But if you in the game, if you a pimp or a hoe in the game, it's designed for you to fail. They have a lot of rules that are designed for you to fail. But on the flip side of that coin, if you have certain rules for yourself set in place, then you can abide within the system and you can thrive within the system. You just got to have the right rules set in place for yourself. So, like for instance, right? Like I said, tricks got rules, right? A hoe is supposed to have more rules than the trick, and she's supposed to be standing more firm on her rules than the trick. Hold on, let me see something. I'm missing people. I see y'all in the super chats. Extended clips, as always, good looking out. The B code, as always, I appreciate you. Yeah, I'm gonna definitely continue with the music. Thank you. Lamar Cole, good looking. Tony Davis, as always, good looking, much appreciated. Damn it. Behold the GDL, good looking, I appreciate you. those damn Jews did 9/11. We need to talk about that. Well, that would be a whole different video, you dig? That's a whole different subject matter. But yeah, like I said, with hoes riding the game, you dealing with tricks that got rules for themselves. So you got to think about what you up against as a hoe in the game, right? You're up against the rules of tricks. You up against the rules of the government, the law of the land. You up against the rules of nature. And depending on your situation, you might be subject to the rules of the pimping, but it depends on what side of the fence you are and the side of the fence that you own, and your environment, your situation, so on and so forth. But you're not necessarily under the rules of the subject to the rules of the pimping, but you're definitely subject to the rules of the trick. You're definitely subject to the rules of nature, and you're definitely subject to the rules of the government. Excuse me, as a whole in the game, right? So keeping these things in mind, as a whole, you should have certain rules for yourself that will help you to abide and thrive in your situation, considering the rules of the trick, the government, and in nature. You should have certain rules set in place, right? Like, for instance, there's rules of nature that say if you don't protect yourself, you can contract an STD, and there's a high likelihood that the STD that you can contract isn't curable. You can't get rid of it. You dig? So because of the laws of nature, a hoe should have rules to protect herself. But a lot of bitches in the game don't. You dig? That's why disease is running rampant in the game. A lot of people don't talk about that. A lot of people don't want to face that fact, but it is a fact. Disease runs rampant in the game. And you know, it's a reality this been in the game for a long time. But with the advent of the internet and the way things are with the internet, making it so easy for somebody to get in the game, I hate to say it, but my observation has been my based on what I've seen and known, there's a lot more females on the internet who don't protect themselves than it is anywhere else in the game. Whether it's the strip club, the casino, the track, bars, wherever. It's more unprotected females in the game on the internet posting ads than it is anywhere else. You dig? And the unfortunate thing for these females is the rules of the trick on the internet. See, that's one thing. Like I say, if a hoe sets her rules according to the powers that be, the things that are beyond her control, she sets herself up for a higher likelihood to win. Right now, hold on a second. She sets herself up for a higher likelihood to win, depending on her rules. Right now, as a whole, you want to be, when it comes to the trick, you want to subject yourself to as few rules as possible. You don't want to be subject to a whole bunch of rules of the trick. You want to be subject to as few rules as possible. And not just that, your rules, depending on what they are and how serious you are about your rules going to override the trick's rules every time, right? But see, that's the beauty of hoeing outside, right? When you hoeing outside, you're not so subject to the trick's rules as you are when you hoe or when you prostitute on the internet or when you hoe on the internet or whatever the case may be, right? Because tricks have what we call reviews, right? And for a lot of tricks on the internet, they have rules for themselves that, you know, they gonna date this girl or they not gonna date this girl depending on what her reviews are, right? These are rules that they have set for themselves, each individual. You know what I mean? And certain tricks are more serious about them rules than others are. You dig? And for a lot of tricks, they don't want a lot of tricks' main rules are they don't want to date a girl that's protected. They don't want to date a girl that uses condoms and things like that, right? So where a lot of girls on the internet fall short, instead of having certain rules for themselves to counteract that rule that the trick has of not wanting to date girls who use condoms, instead of setting certain rules for themselves to counteract that, most bitches just subject themselves to that trick's rule. Well, damn, they face so many tricks like, damn, he don't want to date me because I want to use a condom. Damn, he don't want to date me because I want to use a condom. Damn, he don't, you know what I mean? So they get on some can't beat them, join them type shit. So next thing you know, this bitch just ain't protecting herself and going based on the trick's word. You know what I mean? Some of the most untrustworthy motherfuckers in the world, not all of them, but a lot of them. You dig? And you shouldn't trust a trick like that because you trusting them with your life. So you taking a gamble, you rolling the dice with your life every time. You dig? Because you don't have the game to set the right type of rules in place so that you can protect yourself and still get what you want from this trick. You dig? Because your rules are set up to counteract his rules, and you more serious because you got the game. You more serious about your rules than he is about his. You dig? Because the thing about a trick's rules, right? Sinful like to say if a trick's dick is alive, he's brain dead. I like to say when a trick's sex drive is turned on, his brain is turned off, right? So you got to have a brain to operate on your rules, right? But if you turn a trick sex drive on, you know what I mean? And every hoe got the key to the ignition. They just not conscious. They're not conscious of that fact, right? But if you stick the key in the ignition of that trick sex drive and you turn that motherfucker on, guess what? His brain is going to be turned off. So he not thinking about his rules. You know what I mean? He just want to get with you. But if he want to get with you, he going to have to abide by your rules. He going to be subject to your rules. And if you keep that ignition turned on and you steadily applying game, you gonna have him, you're gonna be feeding him with a spoon. He gonna be subject to you. He gonna do whatever you want him to do. But once again, a lot of girls in the game, especially on the internet, they don't operate with rules. So they subject themselves to dangerous things. They subject themselves to unhealthy things. They subject themselves to demeaning things. Just a lot of fucked up shit because they don't have rules. You dig? It's a beautiful thing fucking with the pimping, right? Because for when a hoe who's fucking with the pimping knows what kind of rules you're supposed to have set in place in order for you to be highly successful in the game, right? Like for instance, when it comes to the track. Now, if you on a track in California, right, you're gonna see a lot of hoes down. Most of the hoes that you see down gonna be like this. They're gonna be in their phone, right? And a trick might pull up and they don't even take their eyes off the phone. They turn their mouth towards the trick, but not their eyes and not their mind and not their attention, just their mouth, right? Hey, baby, how you doing? Did you want to date? They ain't even looked at this motherfucker. This motherfucker could be an axe murderer, serial killer, whatever the fuck, you dig? Hey, baby, you want to date? You know what I mean? So in them type of situations, more than likely the bitch ain't gonna get no money. If she does get some money, it's not gonna be what she's supposed to get. And not just that, but because she's not focused, she's so tuned into her phone while she's supposed to be at work. She's overlooking a lot of things. She's overlooking a lot of details when it comes to this trick, things that she should be paying attention to. And if she don't pay attention to, it could be a potentially dangerous situation for the bitch. You dig? So obviously, if you see a bitch like that on the track, she's not operating by too many rules at all. She ain't really got no rules. And Obviously, if she ain't got no rules, she ain't really got a whole lot of money neither. You dig? And the sad thing about it is that the majority of the bitches on the track, you gonna see them just like that. Sometimes you might see 50, 60 bitches on the track in California. The majority of them is gonna be like this. So that lets you know that the majority of them don't operate based on rules. And the majority of them, because of that, they're not really successful. They're not focused. See, that's the beautiful thing about rules. Rules make it so that you focus. You're going to zero in on a target. You dig? Now, like I said, the system is designed for us to fail, right? And see, what people don't understand, and this transcends beyond the game. It really transcends all walks of life in America, right? At least. I can't speak for other countries because I'm not there. But here where I am in America, I understand that there's a lot of things set in place. And see, we all have the choice to be successful. We all have the choice in America to do what the fuck we want. But a part of these government rules is to puppeteer us and have us think the way that they want us to think, right? And within us thinking the way that they want us to think, we're more failure conscious than we are success conscious. You dig? Like them bitches that's on the track in their phone, they can choose to put their phone away. That's a choice. They don't have to do that, right? But the powers that be, you know what I mean? The government and corporations and things like that, they want the bitch to be in the phone because they want the bitch to fail. They want to exploit her in whatever kind of way they want to exploit her. You dig? They want to take advantage of the bitch in every type of way that they want to take advantage of. And they want to keep her stupid so that she doesn't thrive and that she's not successful and they can have their way with her. And she can be a failure, right? This is the way everything is designed. But you know what I mean? The bitch has a choice to be successful. And if she wants to choose to be successful, there's certain things that she has to do. There's certain things that she has to implement in her life. But the powers that be, the government, they're not going to set thing up to guide the bitch in that way. You dig? She has to figure that out on her own. And see, that's the beautiful thing about fucking with some real pimping. Some real pimping is going to help the bitch figure it out. First of all, the bitch got to want to figure it out. And see, the powers that be got it so cold, they got it where bitches don't even want to figure it out. Bitches are comfortable being broke like this. This is the way the government wants it. Because this bitch that's like this, she got a higher likelihood of going to jail because she not focused and paying attention on whether or not she dealing with vice. So she got a high likelihood of going to jail. I had a bitch go to jail like that in Vegas one time. You know what I mean? The bitch was new to the town, and I laced her, gave her all the toolery and weapons that she needed in order to go out there and do her thing successfully. And I broke down, you know what I mean, to the bitch how to pay attention so that you know who you dealing with. You dig? So the bitch knew how to spot vice. And my game, you know what I mean? I don't like to brag or boast. My game is cold, man. And if a bitch abides by my game, she stands a very high chance of figuring out whether or not she's dealing with vice if she just follow a pimp's rules, right? But nonetheless, this bitch on the escalator in the casino going down, she in her phone like this. Motherfucker walk up behind her over her shoulder. She never even looked at the motherfucker. She in her phone like this. He propositions the bitch. She like, yeah, you know what I mean? They get to talking about prices. The bitch talking with him about prices, but the whole time she like this, right? Next thing you know, Las Vegas Metro man, put your hands behind your back. Bitch, go to jail. Of course, after the fact, I talked to the bitch and she let me know, like, yeah, you know, I'll be honest with you. I didn't do what you told me to do. I was too distracted by my phone, and that's why I went to jail. If I hadn't have been in my phone and did what you told me to do, I wouldn't have went to jail. You dig? So, like I said, in that situation, she had a choice. And if she would have chosen to abide by the rules that were set in place, she would have been successful in that situation. She would have avoided the bullshit. But because she didn't abide by the rules of the pimping and the rules that were in favor of her, she subjected herself to the rules of the government and the rules of the powers that be, the rules of corporations that want to keep you distracted and keep you down, keep you failing. And as a result of that, she went to jail. You did. So, like I keep saying, whether you like it or not, you're going to be subject to somebody's rules. The best rules to be subject to is the rules of yourself that are set in place to guide you in the direction that you want to go so that you can have what you want to have, do what you want to do, be what you want to be. You dig? So, you know, back to the girls on the track that be distracted by their phones. You know what I mean? Another thing that's fucked up about the game is those powers that be, they got bitches so fooled right now. It's crazy. They got bitches so fooled because they got bitches thinking that the pimping is the ones that want to exploit them and take advantage of them. You dig? And to be honest with you, I can't, you know, see, I wouldn't be realistic if I said that ain't no pimp in the world that's trying to exploit a bitch or take advantage of a bitch. You know, the reality of it is it's a lot of cats in the game that are like that. It's a lot of cats in the game that don't mean a bitch no good. It's a lot of cats in the game that's just users, that's just takers, that just want to use a bitch, take advantage of a bitch, get what they can from the bitch, and all the while they not taking care of the bitch. They not making sure that the bitch is safe. They not making sure that the bitch is happy. They not making sure that she's taken care of. You got cats like that in the game, but that's not everybody. And if a hoe is going to be in the game, she shouldn't want anything more than to find a real pimp and align herself with a real pimp and lock in with a real pimp. A hoe in the game shouldn't want nothing else more than that, because if she has that, if a hoe locks in with a real pimp in the game, then everything else is going to fall into place. That's the key. That's the foundation. If you have that, everything else is going to fall into place. But like I say, the government, the powers that be, they got bitches so fooled because they know bitches, they got them with this. They know once they got a bitch like this, they can get a bitch to think and do what they want her to think and do, right? So if a bitch is a hoe in the game and she's like this, oh, all we got to do is use this to make her think that we're on her side. All we got to do is use this to make her think that the pimping is her enemy. You know what I mean? And the tricks with their reviews and all that type of shit when it comes to bitches hoeing on the internet, you know, all we got to do is use this to make bitches trust us. You know, if we use this, we can make bitches value our opinions and dictate them based on that, control them based on that, get them to trust us based on that. So this motherfucker right here is the coldest tool that they came with. You dig? Because they controlling bitches in such a way that they think totally backwards. They think in a way that nobody in the game should think. You dig? Bitches think that, you know, if they have a conflict with the pimping, the best way to deal with that conflict is to go to law enforcement or to the government or whatever the case may be. But what they don't understand is them motherfuckers don't give a damn about you. They not finna, like, the only way that they might make you believe that they gonna help you is if you go against the motherfucker that you should be on the same side with, which is the pimping. You dig? And so, like I said, they use this motherfucker right here to exploit you, to control you, and to keep you down. See, a bitch might think that she doing something by, telling on the pimping or whatever the case may be, but how is that benefiting you? Yeah, you might get the pimping out your life, or he might have hurt you in some type of way. And it might not have necessarily been physically. He might have hurt you emotionally. You might not have liked the new bitch that he knocked. He might have been showing her more attention than he was showing you. You dig? He might have been fucking on this bitch more than he was fucking on you. And the only way you know how to get back at him is by putting the law in his business and putting him under the jail. You dig? And that might make you feel good. It might make you feel empowered in some type of way. But at the end of the day, what is the government really, in the law enforcement and the powers that be, what are they really doing for you in exchange for that? You dig? Because unlike you, they don't have to be in the game. They're not subject to dealing with the peers in the game. They not a hoe, so they ain't got to deal with other hoes. They not a pimp in the game, so they don't have to deal with the pimping. But you being a hoe in the game, now you got this stain on your name. You dig? And a lot of bitches I've seen try to avoid that shit, but it follows them wherever they go. Once you get that stain on your name, it's like shit. Tattoos is removable, but that stain ain't even removable. You can't remove that motherfucker. Once you got the stain on your name as a snitch, it's there forever. You can't remove that motherfucker. You dig? So when you tell on the pimping, now you're known as a snitch, and people are gonna be looking at you skeptically. Some people might try to hurt you. Christian Murphy, as always, good looking. Some people might try to hurt you. And not only that, these people ain't your friends. They're not gonna help you thrive in the game because you're still gonna be in the game. You dig? You ain't finna go get a job or nothing like that. And if you do, it's gonna be something that you don't want to do. It's gonna be something that you don't like. And it's gonna be the kind of money that you're not accustomed to, so on and so forth. But they're not gonna help you thrive in the game. Because after you tell on the pimping, guess what? If you stay in the game and you still focused on this, you're gonna keep going to jail. Because bitches who do this, they go to jail all the time. Because they're not focused. So you throw the pimping away, but you still focused on this. So you're going to go to jail a lot, and you're going to be distracted from getting the money a lot. And Tricks is still going to be taking advantage of you and exploiting you a lot because you so in love with this motherfucker. You'd rather have this motherfucker than the pimping. You dig? But once again, if you have certain rules set in place, like I say, a hoe with rules, right? A hoe that got rules, she not even gonna take this motherfucker to the track. She got a trap phone that it's a flip motherfucker with buttons on it, and it ain't even barely got the internet on there. All she could do is talk and text on that motherfucker because that's all she need to do because she focused on getting the money right now. See, a real hoe, she not finna be on Snapchat on the track. She not gonna be in a casino on Snapchat. You did? A real hoe is gonna be focused on the money. She's not gonna be on Facebook Live. She's not gonna be on Instagram Live. She's gonna be on Hoe Live. You know what I mean? She's gonna be on breakingthetricklive.com. You dig? That's what a hoe is gonna do when she focused on the money. She's not gonna be distracted. And she's operating based on rules. You know what I mean? If this trick wants to deal with her, he's subject to her rules. They're gonna have to play it the way she want to play it. She's not finna compromise and bow down to this trick because she operating based on rules. You dig? And them rules are gonna help her get to the money. You dig? That's the beautiful thing about operating with rules. And see, like I say, when it comes to this game, better rules that you have set in place and the more serious you are about these rules, the higher likelihood you have of winning in this game. And the best rules that a hoe can have set in place for her hoeing is the rules set in place by the pimping. You dig? So like I say, 2019, man, it's 11 more months left in this year, and you can still have an excellent year. But you got to ask yourself about your rules. You got to seriously ask yourself, like, damn, what kind of rules do I have set in place in order for me to have what I want to have, be what I want to be, and do what I want to do? What's your rules for real? You dig? Because just like anything else, again, getting back to my fitness and my health, a part of my rules when it comes to fitness is not just going to the gym every day and working out, but along with that is the way that I eat. Now, I could go to the gym every day and go hard in a motherfucker, and my rules for that might be cool than a motherfucker. But if I don't have certain rules set in place as far as how I eat, then the rules that I have set in place for the gym is going to be pretty much in vain, because I might be going hard as a motherfucker with the weights so I can build muscle. But if I don't have certain rules set in place as far as my protein intake, then my weightlifting is going to be in vain, because I might not be getting the right kind of protein or the right amount of protein that I need in order to build muscle. You dig? Same thing with burning fat. If I was trying to trim down and become more lean, I'm gonna have to abide by certain rules when it comes to what I eat, so that I can burn fat accordingly. And I'm gonna have to adjust my rules when it comes to working out. Implement more cardio. Get on that exercise bike. That's how I get my cardio in, or walking. So if I want to be lean, those are the rules that I'm gonna have to abide by. You dig? So when it comes to the pimping is a thinking man's game. We all know that, right? So me myself, if I want to be the best pimp, I'm gonna have to be the best thinker. So if I want to be the best thinker, I have to have rules set in place that keep my thinking on point at all times. Me personally, for myself, so that I'm always thinking to, at a high rate, so that I'm always thinking as on point as I possibly can. I don't do anything to alter my thinking. I don't do anything to alter my judgment. So when it comes to putting certain substances in my body, Freeze ain't gonna do that. You dig? Because I've done alcohol, and I know that alcohol slows you down. It slows your reflexes down. It slows your thinking down. It makes your judgment bad. Your inhibitions, to stop you from doing certain things, those go out the window when you drunk. So I understand that about drinking. I know that from experience. So because I've experienced that and I know that drinking fucks with your thinking, then I won't be doing any drinking. Only drinking Freeze is gonna be doing is this. You know what I mean? This is the only thing a pimp gonna drink. Love break, you dig? Mm. Yeah, so again, because I want to be thinking to the best of my ability, I'm not going to be doing no drugs. You're not going to see me sipping lean. You're not going to be seeing me snorting coke or doing methamphetamines or opiates or of any kind. You're not going to see Freeze doing any of that. You did? Because I want my thinking to be on point. I want to be sharp. I want to be keen. So I'm not going to be doing any of that type of shit. You dig? Because once again, if you don't subject yourself to your own rules, you're going to be subject to somebody's rules. And see, when you under the influence of drugs, you're not thinking to the best of your ability. See, a lot of motherfuckers sip that lean and they get money and things like that, but they don't tell you to, it looked cool. It looked cool, and I've never tried it, but I heard the shit tastes good than the motherfucker. You dig? I know people who don't even sip lean but have tried it once or twice, and they'll let you know, like, man, that shit, I can't lie, that shit do taste good. I don't fuck with it, you know what I mean? I don't want to get a habit of it, but I tasted it before and that shit tastes good. You know, it's pretty unanimous that lean tastes good. You dig? And the shit is expensive. And see, again, that's something else that the powers that be, you know what I mean? They program us to think a certain way so that we fail. We think that because something is expensive, that it's good. You dig? So we like to brag on things that's expensive because we think that lets people know that we got money because we paying for something that's expensive. But just because you spend a whole bunch of money on something don't mean that, you know, you financially set. Because a lot of pimps who have the habit of spending money on frivolous things, spending a lot of money on frivolous things, most pimps end up broke. You dig? Most pimps in the game end up broke, you know, by the time they in they 50s for sure. A lot of pimps in their 40s for sure. But most pimps in their 50s, by the time they hit their 50s, they're gonna be fucked up. You know what I mean? If they was on before, by the time they hit their 50s, if they the type that got, you know, frivolous spending habits, they're gonna be fucked up 9 times out of 10 financially. And a big part of the reason for that, and it's like that now more than ever. You dig? More than ever, we think like it's crazy. Like I know some of y'all probably been seeing these Soulja Boy interviews, right? And he be saying some shit, and people be thinking he crazy, but he be making sense at the same time, right? Now, one thing I can agree with on Soulja Boy, one thing I can agree with him on is Kanye's clothes. The fact that the motherfuckers is ugly as hell and they overpriced, right? But like I say, the powers that be, the way that they program us to think. They program us to think that because our favorite rapper is putting this shit out and got his name attached to it, and it costs a lot of money, this is what we supposed to have. You dig? But the shit do look like some homeless shelter shit. His clothes, them shoes, the Yeezys, they are ugly as a motherfucker. I agree with that. And they do cost way too much. But we think that because the shit costs a grip that it's fly. So that's what we do. We go spend a whole bunch of money on that shit. You dig? But how much money you spend doesn't necessarily reflect how much money you have. You dig? That's where we fucked up in urban society. You know, we think backwards. As a whole, Black people have the least money, but spend the most money on bullshit, on when it comes to designer clothes and all that type of shit. We got the least money, but we spend the most. You dig? And a big part of that is because of the rules that we have set in place or lack thereof. See, if you got certain rules in place, then you're not going to really be tripping off of what somebody else think about what you wear, as long as it's, you know, neat. You're not going to, it can be fly, but you're not going to be really thinking about how much the shit costs. You dig? You might see a belt that you like this $100 or $50 shit, however much the shit costs. You might see a belt that you like that only costs that much. You dig? But if you caught up in what people think and caught up in this way of thinking that they want us to have, then you might like the way the $50 belt looks better than the $600 belt. But because you see all the rappers and all the dope boys and all the pimps and all the athletes and everybody who look like they got money, you see them spending money on a $600 belt, that's what you're going to go get. Instead of figuring out, you know, shit, you might be able to flip this $50 belt with an outfit so cold to make that shit look better than the $600 belt, but you don't think like that. You don't think about being original and having your own flavor. You're just thinking about tricking your money off. You dig? And that's really what it is. The powers that be, they program us to think like tricks. A lot of us. But once again, if you don't have your own rules set in place, you're going to be subject to those rules. That's why it's a beautiful thing to have rules set in place, guidelines to keep you from getting off track. You dig? A lot of motherfuckers, they'll have $700. Their phone bill is $150, and that belt is $650. And they'll be thinking to themselves like, well, my phone bill ain't due for 5 days. You know what I mean? I can make another $150 or another $100 to have 150 in a few days. You know, before the 5 days is up, I can make that. So, but right now I want this belt. So let me go get this belt. You dig? And that leave you with $50. And then after you buy that motherfucking belt, something that you didn't expect comes up. You dig? Your bitch go to jail, you got to bail her out. You go to jail, you got to bail yourself out. You get a flat tire, you got to buy a new one. You need an oil change. Your lights, they do in 2 days. Your electricity. You dig? But when we program to think the way that they want us to think and we not operating based on rules, we going to go get that $600 belt because it looked good right now. You dig? But you know what I mean? It's real crucial that you think about the type of rules that you got set in place for yourself when it comes to your body, when it comes to your mind, when it comes to the company that you keep, the environment that you put yourself in, the way that you operate in that environment. You got to have certain rules set in place if you expect to be successful within this. You dig? You got to get your rules on point. And that's a big part of the reason why the game is fucked up right now as far as pimping and hoeing, because we have a whole lot of motherfuckers in the game that don't give a fuck about rules. The majority of motherfuckers in the game don't have rules. You dig? And like I say all the time, it starts with the man. And most of the men in the game don't really have no motherfucking rules. They don't really operate on no rules. Their only rule is get money. You dig? And they think that sounds slick, get money. And they can count some few thousands while they're doing it. And they think that look cool. But like I said, Tia and Tom, much appreciated. Can a man, I think that's what can a married man also be a thorough pimp? You know, pimp gonna ruffle a lot of feathers with a question like that. And that's a bit off topic. But at the same time, it has to do with the topic. You dig? Now, like I say, a pimp is a thinker, right? And when you're a thinker, you're gonna be thinking about rules. You're gonna develop certain rules for yourself, right? So that you can have life set the way that you want it to be set, and have do and be what you want to have do and be, right? Now, one thing about the pimping also, the pimping operates based on power. You dig? The pimping is going to do everything to increase his power that he possibly can, right? And the rules play a major role in that, because the more efficient your rules are, the more powerful you are as the pimping, right? So I'll speak for myself. I don't want to get married. I've never thought about being married. And I don't see myself ever wanting to be married. You never know, shit, 20, 30, 40 years down the line, whatever, you know, when a pimp's 100 years old, I might have different thoughts on that. But at this point in life, and all up until this point in life, I've never had a desire to be married, right? Now, I can't speak for anybody else. I don't know how that feels to want to be married. But like I said, the pimping operates based on power, right? And me, myself, thinking of myself as being married, I think of that as me relinquishing a certain degree of power to the bitch that isn't warranted. It don't make sense for me to relinquish this type of power to a bitch. You dig? Or that type of power. You dig? I want the bitch to be powerful too. But me marrying a bitch, that don't have nothing to do with the type of power that I want her to have. I don't have to marry her in order to give her the type of power that I want her to have. And I believe that if I do marry her, I'm giving her the wrong type of power. You dig? Because, you know, I'm from California. And if I was to marry a bitch in California, and let's say she my hoe and she been hoeing for me for 10, 15 years, however, whatever, you know, whatever the case may be, that bitch got a whole lot of power over my pimping by us having a damn certificate with some fingerprints and signatures and whatever on it, right? That certificate gives that bitch a whole lot of motherfucking power. And if that bitch ever want to divorce me, you dig, I'm gonna have to break myself to this bitch, which I don't even know how that feels. I can't even imagine breaking myself to a bitch, but I'm gonna have to break myself to this bitch. And I just giving a bitch half everything. Like I don't know how to do that shit. You know what I mean? Now, on the flip side of that coin, if a bitch just been down with me, of course, we not married, but if she been down with me for 10, 15, or however many years, you know what I mean? And she decides she want to leave and she want to take the things that she hold up for, she more than welcome to take that. You dig? Jay Shaw, much appreciated. She more than welcome to take the things that she hold up for. But if I'm married to the bitch for that long, then she's entitled to take things that I don't deem her fit to take. But again, like I said, as the pimping operates in power. And as the pimping, I'm going to subject myself to my own rules as much as possible and to the rules of the government and law of the land as little as possible. And if I'm married to this bitch, I'm subjecting myself in my household to the rules of the government. The rules of the government have that much more dictation over my situation with this bitch because we done signed this motherfucking document together. You dig? And they got that shit on file. So if a pimp is married, not only is he subjecting himself to the rules of this bitch, or he's subjecting himself to the power of this bitch, he's also subjecting himself to the power and the rules of the government. So it's just relinquishing too much power out of the hands of the pimping if a pimp is married. That's just the way I see it. You dig? Now, can a married motherfucker send a bitch? Yeah. You dig? It's somewhere in America right now, it's a married motherfucker with a bitch down right now. A lot of them. Can that bitch come back and get that married motherfucker some money? Yeah. I'm sure that done took place a whole lot within the past 24 hours. It's been a whole lot of bitches handing their money over to a married man. But as we know, just because a motherfucker is sending a bitch and receiving something from the bitch, that alone doesn't make a motherfucker a pimp. Like I said, the pimping operates under power of himself in the game. You dig? So hopefully that answers your question. C. Douglas, much appreciated. The degree of power that marriage gives any woman in America is contrary to the pimping. Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm saying, man. Wait, that's pretty much what the pimp is saying. You dig? Come on. What? The Feezy? Trying to. Oh, okay. Right. Like Jay Shaw say, power must not be relinquished through marriage. Nah, we can't do that. You know what I mean? That's contrary to the pimping. Now, this is just my take. You dig? And I'm not the grand wizard of the game or nothing like that. You dig? But one thing that can't be denied is that I'm true to the game. And I love the game. And I'm serious about the game. But you got other cats that will claim the same things. You got other cats that will claim to love the game. You got other cats that'll claim to be serious about the game and passionate about the game and all this, that, and the third, but they married. You dig? And they doing a lot of the same things that a pimp do. And because they get money for that, they swear up and down that they some pimping. You dig? And at this point in life, I don't really worry about who say they some pimping and who don't say they some, who says they some pimping and who is and who ain't and all that. You know what I mean? I'm always have my own opinions about who is and who ain't, but I'm not finna argue with a motherfucker about whether or not they some pimping. You dig? I'm not really finna argue with nobody, period, about anything. That's one of my New Year's resolutions, by the way. One of my New Year's resolutions, I got a few of them, but one of them is to not argue with anybody about anything. Now, a debate, that's something totally different. You dig? If we chopping game or like with Sinful, me and Sinful, we have some of the most heated debates ever. You dig? But it's really still sharpening steel when Sinful and I have debates with each other. And it's on the intellectual plane that most motherfuckers can't, they can't fuck with. So that's healthy. And what it does is it gives us an opportunity to learn from each other, and it sharpens us up. You dig? That's a debate. But as far as arguing with a motherfucker, you know what I mean? Like, bitch, you trifling. No, I ain't. Yeah, you is, bitch. This is how you trifling. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Well, nah, I ain't. Yeah, that might be true, but that don't make me trifling. Like all that type of shit. I'm not finna. That's an argument. I'm not gonna argue with a motherfucker about anything. So if a married motherfucker, nigga, I'm some pimping. Nigga, no, you not. Nigga, you married. Nigga, so what, nigga? Yeah, I'm married, nigga, but my marriage was paid for on the pimping, nigga, yeah. And I'm married to the gang, too. And I'm getting out this bitch, so I'm pimping. That's going to be an argument. I'm not finna engage in that. You know, if a married motherfucker want to think they some pimping, hey, more power to them. Read some of y'all's questions. If you asked me a question earlier on in the chat and I overlooked it, obviously because I ain't really been looking at the comments, I just been chopping game. If you asked me a question earlier on in the chat and I overlooked it, ask me the question again now so that I can see it and answer it. Mr. G1 001 said my shit was buffering. Is it still buffering? Damn. Is my shit still buffering? Let me know. Okay, you mad, huh? Say nah. Okay, it's good, right? Okay, cool. Good looking. Yeah, I don't know. I apologize for that. I don't know what happened that made it buffer, but yeah. Mr. Atkins, that's a good question. Say what's your rule on a bitch getting out of pocket? How do you respond? Well, see, this is the thing, right? Now you can explain something to somebody, right? And they may intellectually understand what you're saying, but that doesn't mean they internalize what you're saying. And in order for them to implement what you're saying, they have to internalize what you're saying, right? Now, when it comes to being out of pocket, I'm usually pretty good at breaking it down to a host so that she internalizes what I'm saying, right? But it's not guaranteed that she will. So it's a chance that she may not. That's just like, for instance, like the situation I was telling you about with the bitch that was in her phone and got arrested. She intellectually understood what I told her, but she didn't really internalize what I told her to the point where she implemented it in her actions, right? So it's the same thing with being out of pocket. Now, any bitch that represents me, she gonna have a thorough. I'm gonna give her a thorough breakdown of what it means to be in pocket and what it means to be out of pocket, and how she should move based on, right? Now, if a bitch get out of pocket, it's a high likelihood of certain things happening, right? Now, again, most cats in the game don't have rules, right? Most cats in the game right now do not have any rules for a bitch when it comes to being in pocket and out of pocket, right? Most cats in the game, they might say the shit, but most cats in the game don't stand on no rules. It really ain't no rules no more when it comes to being in pocket, right? So that's why you have a lot of bitches that just get out of pocket freely, because where there's no rules, you know what I mean? A bitch in her mind, she ain't got no consequences. If there's no rule against me doing this, then there's no consequence, right? This is their mentality. So see, when I break down why a hoe should be in pocket, I break down the consequences of her being out of pocket, right? Now, one of those consequences is a bitch getting broke on. So if you get one of my hoes out of pocket, she understands that it's a high likelihood that the pimping is gonna break on you. And if that happens, it is what it is. You dig? Bitch, you're not finna call no police. You're not finna call me. I'm not finna come stop the motherfucker. Like, bitch, you out of pocket. Shit, that's the fuck you get. Now you're gonna have to stay down and make that right. You know what I mean? But there's other consequences of being out of pocket. It depends on how a bitch is out of pocket. If a bitch get out of pocket in a disrespectful fashion, like I've had happen to me plenty of times. I don't know how many damn times a bitch done disrespected me when she got out of pocket. But which is why I don't like even it's crazy, man. It ain't even no fun no more, man. I don't even really like talking to bitches, especially depending on where I'm at, man. You know, because motherfuckers ain't really pimping accordingly no more and ain't got no rules. So the rules make it where it ain't even really fun, because bitches just, you know, it used to be a time where bitches abided by rules when it came to being in pocket. But when it ain't no rules and a bitch just, she get disrespectful with you because in her mind it ain't no consequences, like, I don't even want to bless the bitch with opportunity to even like hear what I got to say. But back to like, if it's one of my hoes, right, getting out of pocket with a motherfucker, she disrespect him, and you know something happens to her as a result of that, you got what you asked for, bitch. You asked for that. That's what you wanted. You might not have thought that's what you wanted, but that's what you asked for, so you wanted that. So if the pimp has slapped the shit out that bitch for him, for her disrespecting him or whatever the case may be, then that's what you asked for, bitch. That's why you stay in pocket. You stay in pocket so things like that don't happen. You dig? Like I said, rules. If you're not subject to these rules, you're going to be subject to those rules, right? So it is what it is. You know, the bitch, she brings that on herself. So hopefully with that, you know, those of y'all who just heard me say what I had to say on that understand the importance of the rules pertaining to being in pocket and not getting out of pocket. Clean all the time says, so basically if a bitch out of pocket, she supposed to put it in your pocket. That's up to the pimping to decide, right? But again, most motherfuckers in the game don't teach they bitch to operate by those rules, right? Now, the way it used to be, it was normal. Like a pimp would break on a bitch all the time. But because these bitches have been held to such a pedestal so high above the pimping by a lot of these niggas, you know, the bitch thinks she don't have to do that. You know, so you got to know how to play shit by ear. Now, if you know you're dealing with a real hoe that's respectable, then you know you can move accordingly. But just because you get out a bitch out of pocket doesn't mean that it's gonna be a breaking, because a lot of these bitches, they'll try to call the police on you or put the police in your business in some type of way. They might have a nigga come and try to kill you because he don't give a fuck if the bitch is out of pocket and disrespecting you or whatever. This is my baby. I love her. You're not finna do nothing to her. You're not finna take my money. You know, I treat the bitch like my dope sack. And just like I'm not finna let you come on my corner and serve, I'm not finna let you break this bitch on the curb. You know what I mean? So, you know, keeping that type of shit in mind in today's times when a bitch get out of pocket, ain't no telling what you dealing with, man. So, you know, you got it. And certain cats, because see, this is the thing too, right? Like I said earlier, a lot of P's, they don't adjust mentally to the times, right? So because they don't adjust to the times, they don't adjust their rules to the times, and because they don't adjust their rules to the times, they subject themselves to the rules of the government, right? So you got certain cats this old school and they don't want to accept the new school, and they say to themselves, I don't give a fuck if this bitch is out of pocket. You know what I mean? I'm finna break this punk ass, disrespectful ass bitch. And you have certain P's that are no longer living who lost their life because this bitch wasn't dealing with a pimp. She was dealing with a boyfriend, this a gangbanger and all that type of shit. And she called him, and he don't even want to hear pimping side. All he heard is what the bitch had to say, which could be a lie, you know what I mean? Or it could be out of line with the game. But because the bitch got his nose so wide open, he come kill the pimping. You know what I mean? Or again, the bitch might put the police on the motherfucker. Like, I don't give a fuck what this bitch. I don't give a fuck what you talking about, bitch. You got to break yourself. And next thing you know, he in cuffs. And this bitch done fabricated a whole story about some shit that he did when he didn't do. You dig? So you got to ask yourself, how worth it is it to break on this bitch? You know, if she's not in line with the rules of the game. Now, if she is in line with the rules of the game, then it might go smooth. You dig? But that, again, like I said, that's some shit that you got to really play by ear. Daddy cool to pimp, seven guys say, brush that shit off and keep it pimping. You know, that's shit. Me nowadays, I'm not even gonna do that. I'm not even gonna make reservations for something like that to even happen. Meaning a lot of times I ain't even gonna say nothing to these bitches because I know they don't have an appreciation for the pimping. And because of that, it's a high likelihood of a bitch disrespecting the pimping. And I don't like dealing with disrespect and not being able to do something about it according to my rules. So to avoid all that, I'm gonna just, you know what I mean? I'm gonna I ain't even gonna say nothing to the bitch. You dig? Especially in Vegas. I say that shit all the time. All them flip-flop wearing, Hennessy drinking, backwoods smoking bitches. You know what I mean? Powder snorting, crystal meth snorting, heroin, you know, pill popping, all that old type of lean drinking bitches that be on the strip. You know what I mean? Hanging out in front of Bally's top of the morning or hanging out at TI top of the morning with their weave all fucked up and their nails all chipped up and they need a feel and all this old type of shit. And bitch got a mustache and hairy arms and talking crazy to a pimp. And mm-mm. With a Wet Seal outfit on and all that. Because Pimp got to think in hindsight, you got to play chess with this shit. And what would be a fucked up ass feeling is being on the yard in Nevada Department of Corrections or whatever that shit is called, being on the yard, and you get to talking to pimps, and they like, yeah, P, what you in here for? What happened, man? Woo, woo, woo. And you explaining the story, and you just reflecting, visualizing the situation, like you on the yard doing years because you felt the need to check this bitch that got some motherfucking Walmart sandals on, some Lee press-on nails, a motherfucking $20 lace front wig from the Slauson swap meet. You know what I mean? She need to get her motherfucking lip waxed, but she refused to do that shit. Her eyebrows is bushy than the motherfucker. And the bitch only had $2 on her. You know what I mean? When all of this was taking place. You dig? Oh, I can't leave the Wet Seal outfit on. She got the Wet Seal outfit on too. And you sitting on the yard reflecting like, damn. You know what I mean? I slapped this old faggot ass bitch that wasn't even worthy of my pimping. Like, even if she would have been smooth and cool and we had a cool conversation and she wanted to fuck with me, this ain't even my type of bitch. This ain't even my caliber of bitch. Like, she can't even live up to the type of shit that I want her to live up to. She can't even be who I want her to be. She's not even designed. She doesn't even have the wherewithal to be the type of bitch that I want her to be. And I'm walking on the motherfucking yard, walking laps on the track because of that bitch. And she out there being a faggot and she able to do that shit to the next pimp again. You know what I mean? It ain't worth it. So, yeah, I'm gonna leave bitches like that alone. Right, like Renaissance Ren say, her loss anyway, P, she just took a major L. Exactly. You dig? Pimpin' ain't finna deal with that. Fuck I look like. Not that guy. Not this pimp, said the pimp who pimps. Right. Bitch look like she just left the shelter. Fuck I look like arguing with that bitch. And then 9 times out of 10, pimp gonna be clean. Me, you know what I mean? I got my hair cut now, so I'm my waves gonna be dipping and shit like that. I'm 1 million cologne, you know what I mean? Suited and booted, tailored up, And I'm sitting there arguing with this old raggedy ass, unworthy bitch. Hell no. Shit don't make no sense. Woo say Didi shopping hoes. For real. Yeah, man. Pimp ain't got time for that type of shit. Devin Lewis say, I like your Detroit story the last time. Much appreciated, man. I'm glad you enjoyed that. Yeah, I got some more good stories coming up for y'all real soon, man. I've been reflecting back, reminding myself, Pimp did so much living and been through so much, man. I got some good ass stories. Some of them I ain't even thinking about right now. I just got to sit back and reflect. But I got some cold stories right now to tell y'all. You know what I mean? I'm gonna just save them for a later date. But yeah, I got some good ones coming for y'all though. So y'all be on the lookout for that. See, Douglas say, Freeze, the reason why is because a lot of these dudes can't teach a bitch something that they never learned, and that's the game. Yeah, that's real talk, man. You know what I mean? See, a lot of cats, they just, see the pimping the way it was before as opposed to the way it is now. It's just the mindset is just real different, man. And see, the pimping had like lofty ambitions, lofty visions of how he wanted to be and how he wanted to live and how he wanted his hoes to be and how he wanted them to operate and conduct themselves and things like that. And because of that, the pimpin', being a thinker, understood that certain rules had to be set in place in order to effectively get where he wanted to be. So not only did the pimpin' have these rules set in place, not just for himself, but the pimpin' as a collective had rules. You dig? The game had a lot of rules. You know what I mean? Renegades couldn't just be on the track, moving around and just doing what they do, you know what I mean, without representation. You know, being in pocket. You dig? That's something that was just accepted throughout the whole game. And everybody in the game knew the consequences of a bitch getting out of pocket. Now, of course, you got certain cats that didn't want to accept the rules of the game, but it wasn't the majority. You dig? It was a high likelihood that if a bitch got out of pocket, she was dealing with some pimping. And if you handled that situation accordingly, you know what I mean? The cat on the other end of the situation is going to be some pimping. He going to have some understanding about it. He going to want to hear what the pimping got to say first before he started believing this bitch. And everything was going to be copacetic. You dig? But that's because everybody had rules. Respect was another major rule that everybody in the game, you know what I mean, had for each other. Not just in the game, but just men, period, in general. You dig? But a lot of these cats in the game right now, they don't respect themselves. So I can't respect somebody else in the game. I can't expect them to respect me if they don't respect themselves. You dig? That's something that I'm always working on. I've gotten a lot better, but I'm always working on accepting people for who they are and allowing motherfuckers to be who they are and not trying to, change that or anything like that. So with that said, I'm just not gonna deal with a lot of shit. I'm not gonna deal with a lot of motherfuckers because I know they don't respect themselves. You dig? Discipline is another thing, that was kind of like understood in all households. It was some type of discipline going on. You dig? Pimps had more self-discipline, and so did the hoes, because they fucking with a self-disciplined motherfucker. The hoes is gonna have self-discipline, and there were disciplinary actions that took place if a hoe got out of pocket or if she, did something outside of the rules. You dig? But when you ain't got no rules, ain't nobody thinking about consequences. So, but if you don't have your own consequences, when you don't abide by your own rules, and you don't have your own consequences because you ain't got no rules to abide by, you're gonna deal with the consequences of not abiding by the rules of the government. You dig? And that's why a lot of motherfuckers is locked up in some more shit. Right, exactly. Like Mr. G1001 say, you got to have consequences and discipline with your rules. Exactly. You know what I mean? You got to have the discipline to abide by the rules, but also you have to be willing to deal with the consequences of not abiding by the rules as well. You dig? That's just like, it's not a definite rule for myself, but it needs to be. But example, like, there are certain days where I might not make it to the gym. You dig? So a kind of a natural rule. It's not something that I just wrote down or something that I got stamped in my mind. Like, yeah, if you miss today, you're gonna go twice tomorrow. But that's something that I do a lot of times, right? If I miss today, I'll go twice tomorrow, once in the morning, once in the evening. You dig? To make up for the day that I missed. And that's a consequence. It's kind of uncomfortable sometimes, like, fuck, because I'll be in the gym like 3 hours a day. And to do that twice in one day, that's something that I don't really want to do, but uh that would be a consequence of not abiding by my rule of going every day. You dig? So Justin Ness, much appreciated on lunch break at school. Keep spreading gems, bro. For sure, indeed, man. I appreciate your support. Good looking. Mr. Nice One says, so what you saying is you have your own out-of-pocket rules at this point. Beyond just my own out-of-pocket rules, I just got my own rules, period. You dig? And my rules keep me in check with myself, and they keep me from being subjected to other people's bullshit. Because I understand, see, that's the main thing. You just have to understand that certain things are beyond your control. And the more you keep in mind that certain things are beyond your control, the better off you're gonna be operating in this world. Because it's a lot of shit that's beyond your control. You can't control what a bitch do. You dig? You can't control. See, like again, if I'm out on the track sweating hoes or whatever the case may be, I can't control what bitches do. So I can't control a bitch to the point where she doesn't disrespect me. I can't control that. So if a bitch decides to disrespect me, that's beyond my control. I can't do nothing about that. But I can do something about myself. I could choose and control myself in dealing with this bitch. I could choose to not even talk to this bitch. I could choose to not even engage or interact with this bitch whatsoever. You dig? Because if the bitch looked ratchet than a motherfucker, she looked cheap as a motherfucker. And here I am, somebody who puts a whole lot of time and effort and energy into my appearance, let alone my conversation, my game, and my manhood and my integrity and all of that. I'm a high maintenance motherfucker through and through. And here it is, this bitch, she took like 10 minutes to get ready, and she out here just moving around. Like, yeah, I can control whether or not I say something to that bitch. I control whether or not I even look twice at that bitch. You dig? And she might say something to me without me saying something to her. I can control whether or not I want to respond to that. 9 times out of 10, I'm gonna choose to not respond to that because I got the control and the power to do that. So yeah. Yeah, you can write your rules down. You mad, huh? Say, should we write our rules down? Write down our rules to remember. Yeah, you can write your rules down. It's good. You know what I mean? That's another thing a lot of people don't like to do nowadays is write shit down, period. You know what I mean? But it's good to write things down and remind yourself, and look at it, you know what I mean, regularly to remind yourself. Yeah. I highly encourage you to write your rules down. You know what I mean? And how you figure out your rules is you have to consider and keep in mind whatever it is, what your how your life is, you know what I mean? What you doing? You know what I mean? When it comes to your household and your family, you got to keep in mind what's important to yourself in dealing with your family, and you got to keep in mind what's important for the well-being of your family as a whole and individually, different individuals in your family. You know what I mean? You got to keep in mind what's important. And when you keep in mind what's important, you can develop your rules based on that. You dig? Because when you keep in mind what's important, you can develop certain goals in your mind. And once you develop them goals from there, you could develop your rules based on that, and you can write that down. So yeah, I highly encourage you to write your rules down once you figure out what they are. Right. Like the B code say, you have to know yourself in order to make rules for yourself. Exactly. That's why I say you got to, whatever it is, you know what I mean? Just like with your family, I use that as an example, but just with yourself, you know what I mean? Knowing who you are and what's important to you, what you value. You dig things that you want to do, things that you want to avoid. You know, from there, you can develop your rules and write them down. Ellis Jackson say, I've never thought about this. Good idea. Come up with your own rules that serve you. Exactly. You dig? Because not only do you make yourself better off for yourself, but you make yourself better off because, like I say, whether or not we want to acknowledge it and realize it, we subject ourselves to a certain extent to the laws of nature, the rules of nature, and the rules of the government. So, um, when you develop your rules in such a way that you can operate smoothly within that, uh, you make these rules serve you, and it makes it better for you to serve people the way that you want to serve people, and vice versa. Exchange with people. You dig? Because again, thinking about hoes, right? Hoes in the game. Again, because they be so focused in their phone when they dealing with tricks, they like this all the time, and they never take enough attention off of this to focus on dealing with the trick. Um, they ain't gonna never really get what they want because, like you use the word serve, right? It if you if you have rules in place that serve you, those rules are going to help you get other people to serve you as well. You dig? And you can serve them accordingly. Like the bitch, she supposed to serve a trick some game. And in exchange for the game that she's serving this trick, you know what I mean? And pleasure to whatever degree she want to serve him some pleasure, but more so than pleasure, she's serving the trick some game. And in return, the trick's supposed to serve her some money. You did. But like I say, the powers that be programmed the bitch to be focused on this. So because she's focused on this, she ain't gonna have no rules really to serve her. So the trick ain't gonna serve her the way that she should want to be served. So that's just an example. But you know, it goes that transcends through all walks of life. As long as you're dealing with people, if you have effective rules and efficient rules that serve you, then you're gonna be able to operate in a way that people can serve you accordingly, and you serve people accordingly. Right. I like the way you said that, Vic. Victor Cruz say it's best to discipline ourselves than to have the enemy do it, especially since we have our own best interests at mind. Exactly, man. Because see, like you say, discipline ourselves as opposed to having the enemy do it, right? Uh, the worst discipline beyond your control to subject yourselves to is prison, pretty much. You know, which to me is modern day slavery. You know, it's not no way for a man to live. You know, when you're a real man, you got certain males that don't mind being in prison and don't mind being disciplined by, you know, an overseer. You got certain males that are of adult age that don't mind that type of shit. But when you really a man, that shit is terrible. You know, like when I was in prison, having to wake up when they tell me to wake up, having to eat when they tell me to eat, having to shower when they tell me I can shower, piss and shit when they tell me I can piss and shit, go to work when they tell me I got to go to work. You know what I mean? Just all that type of shit. Just having to live like that. It ain't no way for a man to live. So, but like Victor say, at that time when I went to prison, I wasn't disciplining myself accordingly. So because I wasn't disciplining myself accordingly, I subjected myself to being disciplined by the powers that be, the government and the corporate prison system and shit like that. You dig? So, but I learned, man, that that ain't no place for a man. And it definitely ain't no place for a pimp. It ain't no place for a fly motherfucker, period. And especially if you're somebody, because everybody ain't like that. Everybody's not a highly self-disciplined individual. But if you're naturally that way, see, like me, I'm just a naturally self-disciplined individual. Even before I went to prison, um, I've always been highly self-disciplined. I just wasn't disciplining myself accordingly to the lifestyle that I was living. You dig? If I'd have been mindful of it and I'd have had the game to do it, it wouldn't have been a problem for me to discipline myself accordingly. But I just wasn't mindful. I didn't have a game at that time. So as a result, I subjected myself to being disciplined by the powers that be. You know what I mean? Going to jail, dealing with the court system, having to, do what the court system says for me to do. And then getting sent to the place that the court system said they wanted me to go, and then having to do what them motherfuckers at that place told me to do. And I couldn't leave until them motherfuckers told me I could leave. And then even after I leave, I still got to do what the motherfuckers say because I'm on paper. And if I don't do what the motherfuckers say, they're going to send me back to the joint. You dig? So I got to live in a certain place. I got to deal with them motherfuckers checking in on me and making sure that I'm staying where I say I'm staying. And I got to go report once a month and fill out a report. And, you know what I mean? I didn't really deal with piss tests like that because I ain't never had like no drug cases or nothing. But, when you first get out, or every so often you got to do a piss test or whatever, like just all that type of shit. You know what I mean? That's basically, like Victor said, being disciplined by the enemy. And that's something that, a man don't want to do that type of shit, man. So, but if you discipline yourself accordingly, you don't subject yourself to things like that. So, but see, again, like I was saying, the programming, right? They program you to think the way that they want you to think so that you can subject yourself to their rules and not your own. You know what I mean? So that they can dictate your life and ultimately keep you down here. They don't want you to thrive. They don't want you to be successful. They don't mind you doing it if you're smart enough to do it. They'll allow you to do it, but they're not going to encourage you to do it. They're not going to program you to think, to have the right type of mind frame to do it. You dig? You could choose to whenever you feel like it. But they programming is so motherfucking cold. It's a high likelihood that you ain't going to program yourself to think the way that you need to think in order to be successful. You're not going to develop the kind of rules that you need in order to be successful. You dig? So when I was young and I went to the pen, in a lot of ways, I was thinking the way I was conditioned to be thinking by the powers that be. You know what I mean? So, yeah, the rules are critical. Right? Like Ray Gunn said, they have to keep us in a mental box. Yeah. Now, if we're mindful, we could get ourselves out of that mental box. But a lot of us don't even think that we're supposed to be outside of that mental box. A lot of us are so so well conditioned to think that that's where we're supposed to be mentally. That's where most of us stay. But the rules, a beautiful thing, man. The rules make it where you can live your life however you want to live it. Carlos Castillo say, I wish I would have made this one of my number one rules, not to date women with kids. Hey, it's up to you. You know what I mean? If that's how you got to live in order to be happy, then hey, it is what it is. But just a little tablespoon of food for thought. More so than women with kids, you should want to deal with a woman who's responsible and integral, man. Responsible and integral. Because you got some women with kids who are responsible and integral, and you got some bitches that don't have a kid nowhere in sight, ain't never gave birth, but they not neither responsible or integral. And they're just an irresponsible, sorry ass bitch that you don't want to deal with, man. So that's the main thing to keep in mind when you talking about dealing with women. All right, man. So I've answered a good amount of y'all's questions, man. It don't even seem like a pimp been live for over 2 hours, but I have. So I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this one up, man. Oh yeah, and before we go ahead and hit that thumbs up button, man. Like I said, that's like wiping your feet off at the door, man. You come into a pimp's house, you got to wipe your feet off at the door. So go ahead and hit that like button if you haven't done so already, and I appreciate you for it. And as always, man, go ahead and put some love in your life, man. Let me take this love break one time. You dig? I need a double dose of that, man. Shit. So I'm gonna go ahead and take my pimping ass to the gym and get my buff on. I appreciate all y'all's good questions, all your positive feedback as always. You know, I appreciate your input. I appreciate all y'all's super chats. I appreciate the likes, the shares. Even if you hit a thumbs down on the pimp, I appreciate you for that. You dig? I appreciate you subscribing if you did. I appreciate you hitting the bell when you subscribe. And as always, man, I appreciate y'all for everything that you do, all the support that you come with, and every which way that you come with it. Excuse me. But yeah, y'all be easy. If you're out in traffic moving around, be safe while you do it. And yeah, put some love in your life, man. Some love juice, you dig? And I'll holler at y'all in a minute.